Let's get nasty. Hey, that one was better. Welcome into the Fast Lane. I'm Carey Davis, joined by the great Randy Carricker. Andrew Marsh is here. Dodie is here. We are at Cybergs in O'Fallon, Illinois. If you are driving, come check us out. Come get some good food, good beverages, sponsored by Bud Light. We'll be here till 5 o'clock. Fellas, how's it going? How you feeling?
I'm loving all the NCAA action here. This is awesome. I've got the old day-night doubleheader going, which is fun.
You're working twice. You're working hard. Hardest working man in the business. We're happy to have you here, Randy. Thank you so much.
It's great to be here. It's great to be out and about. We've met so many people already, and like you said, CD, we welcome people to come by Cybergs in O'Fallon on Central Park Drive. It's really cool, and man, 1 million TVs to watch all the action.
All the games you want to watch. Everything is here. We watching Duquesne. I think they finally won that game. They were up with a few seconds left. Transitioning.
It's all about the A-10.
You get to see some good basketball, see some good people, good beverages, and have a good time.
I'm excited. This is the Fast Lane, but I feel like this is also an opening drive reunion for you two.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to be a part of this.
I miss Randy, man. Randy has taught me so much in this business, and to work with him for 1.5 years every morning, I learned so much. He just was always gracious. One of the best people, in my opinion, in this business, and was a person that allowed me to be me and taught me so many things. So I'm happy to have him here.
And I started with Randy as well when I was on Carricker and Smallman, so I'm also in the same boat, Carey.
You know, it's so much information to be learned every single day from Randy. So
and I did 11 years in the Fast Lane. It's been 4 years in the Fast Lane.
All around, indeed. So we were talking before we started, and we were talking about the center field situation with the Cardinals. And how does this play out? I mean, Victor Scott obviously had a great day yesterday, robbed a home run. Dylan Carlson has found his stroke, it seems, hit a grand slam the other day, 2 for 4 a couple of days before that. Just doing a great job. What are you seeing from this center field position, and who is going to be the opening day center fielder?
I have no idea. I don't know if the Cardinals know right now.
Know either.
But what I do know is I think this is probably the best thing for the Cardinals. I think by having Victor Scott push Dylan Carlson, I believe it's making him a better player coming out of spring training into the regular season. And let's be honest, he was not good at the beginning of spring training. He has stepped his game up, and I think the pressure of Victor Scott is bringing out the best in Dylan Carlson. And so whatever route they want to go, right now I feel comfortable with either one of those guys playing center field. Now, personally, I'd like to see Victor Scott play just because he's an exciting ball player. But if they do go with Dylan Carlson, the way that he's been playing lately, I do feel comfortable about it.
I know that baseball, and the Cardinals specifically, want to bring young players up and get them going as quickly as possible. We tend to forget that Victor Scott was drafted in July of 22. He's played 1 full year of pro ball and has played something like 30 games above A ball. I think that he needs more seasoning. I would guess that once we get into August and September, we'll see Victor Scott. First of all, he was a college player, so he's almost 23 years old. And he has more seasoning than an 18-year-old that you would draft at that time. But I do believe, number one, that if magically Tommy Edman were to get healthy by 1 week from today at Dodger Stadium, Edman would be the center fielder, right?
Correct.
He'd be the guy.
Yeah.
But if Carlson can do something in the time that he has available to him, before Newt Barr comes back, before Edman comes back, I would think Carlson could steal the job. His talent has not diminished. It's just his availability. He was third in Rookie of the Year voting 3 years ago, and he's still that guy, but he just hasn't played. And my guess would be that if he can get off to a good start, that he might be able to grab a hold of an outfield job, whether it be in center or left.
We were talking about competition. We were talking about Kenny Pickett and not wanting to compete for that starting job with Russell Wilson. Competition brings the best out of people, and I think what you're seeing from Dylan Carlson is he is being pushed by a younger player, and he's really, oh crap, I got to play. Yeah. If I don't play well, I won't have a job, or I won't have a job here. And so you're starting to see the best version of him, which is why I love competition. I love seeing guys having to play at their highest level, because if not, somebody else is going to take your job. And I think that's what you're seeing right now from Dylan.
And guys, I think Victor Scott has that too.
Yes.
He's got that competitive drive. He's got that Vince Coleman type swagger. We had Ozzy on the morning show a couple days ago, and I asked him if he reminded him of Vince, and he said, yeah, I do. He does remind me of Vince Coleman. And just when you talk to the kid, he's got that, and that drags a team into the competitive fire too.
I feel like all of the young players that have been brought up at least the past 2 seasons have a certain thing about them where there's a competitive drive there that I don't know if I've seen that previously out of the prospects of the Cardinals. Yeah, there might be some talent there, but I don't know if I was hearing the right things from them. But when I hear Jordan Walker talk, when I hear Mason Wynn talk, and when I hear Victor Scott talk, I'm excited about the future, whether or not it's this year or next year or the following year. I'm excited for what this young core will bring to the Cardinals.
And the fact that they're all together. I think when you're a young player, you have talent, and you got a couple of guys that are with you around the same age, it gives you confidence to say, I can be the best version of myself. You learn that the game doesn't change. The dimensions of the field don't change. The players change. The guys get better that you're playing with and against, but it's still the same game. A football field is the same length in college as it is in the pros. The baseball field will be the same. Now, the dimensions change per ballpark, but they understand that it's all the same game, and they're starting to gain confidence. And it's easier when you have people that are with you around the same age.
And they're learning that at the major league level. You look at a guy like Carlson, he didn't have to do much to get handed a major league job. Jordan Walker produced at Double-A, never went to Triple-A until last year he got sent down. Didn't have to do much. I love the idea of forcing players to compete just to get the job in the first place rather than handing it over to them. And Mason Wynn's another guy. Mason Wynn had a nice year in the minors last year, but he really doesn't have to. Here's a 21-year-old kid who doesn't have to compete for a major league job this spring. He knows that Brandon Crawford's not going to steal his job. I would love to have every player be pushed.
But you did notice, though, when they did bring Brandon Crawford in, Mason Wynn had I see what you're doing. I'm going to step my game up a little bit more, even though he is he's going to be the shortstop. Yeah. He's the guy. But I also think it's great for him to bring in Brandon Crawford. And I'm also going back to the whole outfield situation. I also want to be shocked if Dylan Carlson and Victor Scott were in the outfield opening day by the way that just the way they're playing, and I wouldn't be mad at that.
Derek Gould was on our show earlier, and he said that he could see that happening, that with the injury to Newt Barr, that he could see Dylan Carlson in left and Victor Scott in center field.
I wouldn't mind that at all. I mean, with the injuries that they have in the outfield, it wouldn't be a surprise if they both were here on opening day, starting in the outfield on opening day. Again, you said it when Tommy Edman is back healthy, he's probably back in center field. No questions asked, and now you got to shuffle around. Did Dylan play well enough? Is Victor Scott playing well enough? Do you move one of those? But you probably end up just sending Victor Scott down to gain more seasoning.
And how many morning CD did we talk last year about balls that dropped in the outfield? That if you have a good defensive outfield, they aren't errors, but they're plays that aren't made that are ordinarily made by a major league team. If you have Carlson in left and Victor Scott in center, you aren't going to have many balls dropping between those.
And that helps the pitching staff tremendously.
Big time.
To be able to get to those balls that most people won't get to. We talked about it earlier, the number of hits that this pitching staff gave up last year before they got to this team. It's worrisome, right? If you have an outfield that can cover a lot of ground, some of those hits are going to be outs, and it makes your life a little bit easier as a pitcher.
He made two spectacular plays, Victor Scott that is, like back-to-back days. I see that. I think this team needs that, taking on the Dodgers, taking on the Padres. I talked yesterday with Danny Mack. We talked a little bit about how those ballparks are a little bit bigger. We saw the offense that the Dodgers provided today, given the fact that they were down by 5 runs in the first inning, and we'll get to that later. But that team can score runs, and the best way for, I think, the Cardinals to win, obviously, is their offense, but is run prevention. And the best way for them to do that is to have solid defense in the outfield, because those balls will be getting hit out into the outfield.
One of the cool things about Scott, there are 120 affiliated minor league teams for all of the major league teams. In baseball, there's 120 minor league teams, and the Gold Gloves are given by position, left, center, and right. Of all of the center fielders last year in minor league baseball, Victor Scott's the one that won the Gold Glove. He was the best defender among all the center fielders in minor league baseball. He could play that position today and be the Cardinals' best guy.
That's what I wanted to ask you. So you talked about when Tommy Edman gets back. I have been saying this for a while. I want him back at second base.
I agree.
And now up the middle, Mason Wynn, Tommy Edman, Victor Scott. We talk about limiting hits and limiting opportunities for the opposition. I think that gives your team the best defense. What are your thoughts about that?
I agree with you 100%. However, the Cardinals want to give Nolan Gorman reps at second base. They don't want him pigeonholed as a DH. They want to give Donovan reps there. I would actually rather
Somebody's
see.
going to be out.
Yeah, well, I would rather see Tommy Edman as a utility guy because of the Donovan bat. I think the Cardinals' best lineup, if you were starting a really important game and everybody was healthy, I think Tommy Edman would be a utility guy.
Okay.
Do you agree? His offense isn't there.
I agree, but because if Nolan Gorman can have success or Donovan can have success at second base and one of those other guys be the DH, I would. But I think the Cardinals love Tommy Edman to the point where he's going to be playing every day regardless of how well his bat is going.
I agree, but here's my thing: if we get to the middle of August and this team is in the playoff hunt, Victor Scott should be here. He's going to be one of their best guys. So if you go Scott, Jordan Walker, it can be one of two guys. It can be Newt Barr or Carlson in left, whoever's performing best at the time. Then Arenado, Wynn is your best defender. Probably Donovan at second, Goldie, and then if you're putting your best defensive team on the field, I'm not so sure Herrera's not your best defensive catcher either. So I think that there are a lot of options there for the Cardinals, but I'm with you. As much as we love Tommy Edman, he's the guy I think that should be Tommy baseball, where you can play him left, center, right. You can play him literally at every position except catcher.
I think the biggest concern though for this team is how do you balance offense and how do you balance defense, because the ultimate question is, what does this pitching staff look like throughout the whole year? At what point do you need to go to the defense to make sure you have run prevention, or do you go to the offensive side of things because you need to just outscore your problems? I think that's the biggest question of the year.
What did we grow up watching?
A team that could run the bases and get on base and score and have timely pitching.
You can make runs.
Yes.
If you have a good team, you can make runs. You can't make defense.
No.
Right.
Cover gaps and cover ground.
Yesterday, first game for the Padres against the Dodgers, the first run of the season that the Padres scored. Walk, bunt, sacrifice, and then a ground ball to get the run home.
Sounds pretty simple.
Yeah.
That's Randy. That's Marsh. I'm Carey. Coming up next, the Blues play the Ottawa Senators tonight in Ottawa. Jordan Carey has been up and down this season. Is this a fluke season, or should fans be concerned about his play? We'll talk about it next on the Fast Lane. Back to the fast lane. I'm Carey Davis, joined by Randy Carragher and Andrew Marsh. We were talking about the Blues who take on the Ottawa Senators tonight. And Jordan Carey has been a player that I don't know. Well, I guess since he signed this contract, Randy, that we have been discussing who is he, what do we expect from him? What have you seen from him this year? And is he meeting the standards that you think have been set for him or should be set for him?
To answer the question, no.
Okay. And why not?
I'm torn. And one of the problems that I think we all have with Jordan Kyrou is the level of inconsistency in terms of the 200-foot game, right? We'd love to see him get back more. But if Jordan Kyrou was having last year, this year, if he was on pace for 37 goals and 36 assists in a 73-point season, yes, I'll grant you he was minus 38 last year. Not ideal, but
he's minus 14 now, so he's gotten better.
He's improved in that regard. But if he were on pace for a 73-point season, or the year before he had a 75-point season, I would be fine with that. And I know it's there. I know he can do it. I'm really torn about this because I don't know if you can get Jordan Kyrou to give 100% effort on a regular basis. Nobody can do it over 82 games. I'm well aware of that. But here's the thing. I think he can be a 40-goal scorer, and I think he can be a point-a-game guy in the NHL. Do I pay $8 million for that? Yes. Is he living up to it this year? Absolutely not. And I'm one of the people that believes that if you're going to pick one person to blame for Craig Berube getting fired, it would be him. But I also know that he has talent.
He does have talent, and I think it's there. I think what's so frustrating to fans is that you do have another guy that has the exact same contract that is producing way more than he is. In fact, he has more goals than Jordan Kyrou. The thing with Jordan Kyrou, he leads the team in shots. He has 207 shots, which is well more than anybody else. I mean, Pavel Buchnevich, I believe, is second in that department with 176. So, I mean, that's roughly a 30-shot difference right there. The problem is he's not scoring. And so when you see games like we saw the other night where he takes a bad penalty, he just doesn't look like he has it, that is highlighted more because of the contract and because there's no players around him that were on this team previously. Ryan O'Reilly, like, you can get away with the things that Jordan Kyrou did because there were other players around at a higher talent level. They just don't have that this year. And so all of his mistakes are highlighted, and frankly, there's just some people out there that just don't like it. And so that's as simple as that. So when he does have a good game, we don't talk about it. But when he has a bad game, that's when you're like, oh, my goodness, Jordan Kyrou, what are you doing out there?
Well, I think you don't talk about it because the expectation is he's supposed to have.
And that's very fair. That's
You're
fair.
Getting paid as a top player. You're not supposed to have games where we're trying to find you on the ice. I think that's probably part of the problem. And when he doesn't have a good game, you're like, what the hell are we paying for? Or why are we watching this? Why is the effort not there every single night? And that's the part that I think people get frustrated with. I think when you're talking about Jordan Kyrou, you just have to accept him for who he is, the good, bad, and the ugly, and hope. As you said, he's taking the shots. He's got more shots than anybody on the team.
Yeah.
Maybe he's being snake-bitten, just not having good luck right now, but eventually some of those shots are going to go in, and he'll be a 35 to 40 goal scorer, and I think that's what you can expect from him.
And if they do, then all of a sudden the perception changes. If he can get back to 37 or 40 goals, the perception changes. You know who it sounds like? Now, not on the level because the volume was there for Brett Hull, but it sure would make sense, in my opinion, for the Blues to enlist the help of Brett Hull to get together on the ice with Kyrou for an hour to work on his shot, because Kyrou does have a really good shot, and 10.1% shot percentage is not acceptable for him. But Hully's not, he wasn't the hardest worker in the world either, but he made it worth it because he was able to provide goals in volume. And Kyrou, realistically speaking, he's at 21 right now. I think we all expected 40 by this point in the season, right?
At least 30 at the bare minimum.
At least 30. But
40,
40 should be 35 to 40.
If he had 37 last year, I expected him to get incrementally better in the goal scoring department.
And that's what you expect from any professional athlete in general. When you're a young player, you don't expect a ton from them in their early years, but once they get going, and he's at that point now where you think, okay, he should be at least the level that Robert Thomas is at right now. Maybe not from an assist standpoint, but at least from a goal scoring standpoint. Like, Robert Thomas should not have more goals than Jordan Kyrou.
He should be your leading goal scorer.
Yeah.
Like
Yes.
it shouldn't be a question.
So here's the question then. Does it scare you to trade him? Because you know the talent is there.
I don't think that they would trade him because, as you said, the talent is there. And if he goes somewhere else and scores 50 goals, St. Louis fans are going to be like, "What the hell did we do?"
You gave him $8 million a
Yes.
year for a reason.
I personally, I'm not scared. I also wouldn't mind, though, if they kept him. So I don't care what they do with him. I just want them to figure something out. There's a lot of fans that don't want him here.
Right.
And there's a reason for that. They don't see the consistent effort every night.
And because of that, I think it'd be really hard for another NHL general manager or Poho to go to his owner and say, yeah, I want to give this guy $8 million a year for the next 7 years. I want to trade for this guy. And the owner's going to say, I'm a hockey fan. I've watched that.
Right.
You really want to trade for that guy and want me to spend $8 million a year on him? I think it'd be hard to trade him, actually, because I don't know that many general managers have the guts to make that trade.
Probably not. I mean, Jordan Kyrou is, obviously, he's gotten the money. He's very talented. He has all the ability. Something in him has to make a decision that this is what I want to do. Like, it's not a hobby. Like, this is, people would say, what do you got to do tomorrow? I got to go to work. I play football. And you don't work. You play football. No. I have to work. It is a job. I have to show up at 7 a.m., sit in meetings for 4 hours, go lift, practice, go back to more meetings. It's a job, and you have to treat it as such.
But, Carey, if you don't try hard, you get cut. And how much money do you get in the NFL when you
None.
get cut? This guy's got $8 million a year
There you
coming
go.
for the next 7 years.
Yes.
I do think there's a general manager out there that would absolutely pounce on this because there are, and this is just not just in the NHL but in other sports, general managers that are like, we can unlock
Every
something.
coach.
Yeah.
Every
We
coach.
can unlock
Yep.
something out of
Yeah.
this guy. We can make him a 50-goal scorer. That's with any sport, and we've seen some interesting contracts, especially the past few years from the NFL, Major League Baseball, the NHL. I feel like there would definitely be a team out there that would be willing to.
I'm sure. There's a coach that is saying, they don't know what they're doing for him. I'm the one that can get him to be the best.
I'm trying to think of the guy. Daniel Jones was the first guy that came to mind. You know, okay, guy that really shouldn't make that much money, but let's give him this amount anyway.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to think of a really super talented player that just hadn't reached his potential, and another team took him on to give him the contract. I know they're out there.
There are a number. I'm thinking basketball for some reason, but I know there are some players that, Jordan Poole probably is one of them that got traded to the Wizards. He has all of the talent, but, he just mentally won't lock in and play the game the right way. And Jordan Kyrou may fall into that realm, just has all of the talent. But the problem is when you have all of the talent and don't show the consistent effort and then you get paid, you're almost rewarding bad behavior.
Yeah.
And so that's possibly what was done. He was rewarded for bad behavior, and there's no need for me to play harder or play better because I already got the thing that I wanted the most.
I've got your guy, and the production was higher, but it's kind of a similar situation. Randy Moss.
There you go. Yeah. But he is I'll take
He's
Randy
a freak.
Moss.
Yeah, right. He's a freak talent. But even as great as the production was, the Vikings were always thinking it'd be better. The Raiders thought, oh, man, he's just not going to do it. The effort's never going to be there.
Right.
Then he goes to New England and he starts trying hard.
Yeah. And goes to a Super Bowl almost
Yeah.
undefeated season.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing, though. He went to a really sound organization,
Where they
whereas, let's say he goes to the Jets.
No, yeah.
He's not. Maybe he's not there. So, and Anthony talks about all the time, good players on bad teams. Jordan Kyrou. Let's just hypothetically say he does get traded to a team like Ottawa, right? Young talent. They just for some reason can't put it together. Since we're playing Ottawa tonight, we're going to see them. He could put up 50 goals on the Ottawa squad, and they could miss the playoffs.
Yeah. Curbs was talking the other night about players from Ottawa, players from Arizona, recently players from San Jose, those organizations that have never really won, that trade players to help Buffalo, trade players to help other teams win. There was a conversation about Casey Middleset with Colorado in town the other night.
Yeah,
How many good players Buffalo has given up and never won a damn thing with Ryan O'Reilly or Jack Eichel, and these guys are all going other places and winning.
Indeed. That's Randy. That's Marsh. I'm Carey. Coming up, one of the biggest stories of the offseason was a player named Shohei Ohtani. He's back in the news, but not for the reason you may think. We'll talk about it next on the Fast Lane.
Cover.
Playing on Carey Davis, joined by Randy Carragher and Andrew Marsh. And fellas, the Dodgers and Shohei Ohtani are in the news, but not because of baseball. There was an issue with Shohei's interpreter being fired recently due to some alleged gambling with a federal investigation that was founded that they were doing some gambling, and the interpreter has been founded to have been fired. And so $4.5 million of money from Shohei Ohtani's account wired to the interpreter, or wired for this operation, bookmaking operation. What does this mean for Shohei? And is this a black eye on Major League Baseball right now?
I would say odds are that Shohei is going to be in trouble.
I mean, there are a lot of signs. There's a lot of contradicting
Conversation
going on right now. However, Major League Baseball cannot afford for Shohei Ohtani to be in trouble. They can't. They simply can't. So this could be a conspiracy theory that we'll have for quite some time.
If you're Major League Baseball, if you're Rob Manfred, you have to do exactly what Roger Goodell did with Spygate. Proverbially burn the tapes and make sure that there's no evidence there. Now, it's really an interesting story because a spokesman for Ohtani told ESPN that Ohtani had transferred the funds to cover his interpreter's gambling debt.
Correct.
But then, right before the story was to be published, Ohtani's camp came to ESPN and said, no, that's not the case. This money has been stolen.
Yeah.
Well, that's a pretty dramatic change from Shohei feeling sorry for the guy and paying off his gambling debt to now the guy stole the money and put the money into the account of the bookie himself. I tend to believe the first thing we heard.
I agree, because the first thing we heard is actually illegal on Shohei's part, whether or not he knew it. So,
So the longtime friend and interpreter for Ohtani incurred gambling debts to a Southern California bookmaking operation that is currently under federal investigation. Yeah. And so, as you said, initially the reports were, oh yeah, Shohei was just looking out for his friend to the tune of $4.5 million. I need friends like that. I need $4.5 million loaners, type friends.
Do you guys think then that the interpreter was making the bets on behalf of Shohei Ohtani?
Now that to me sounds more likely that these bets were taking place and Shohei knew about it, because you don't give a friend, I don't care how close of a friend, I don't care how much money you have, $4.5 million in gambling debts is not, that's a bit outrageous.
That's Barkley-esque.
Yeah.
They must,
for a friend.
They must suck at gambling.
Right.
They should stay away from FanDuel.
But to your initial question, CD, I don't think it matters to anybody if people lose money gambling these days, right? Sure, baseball has their rules, and I don't even know what their rules are with legalized gambling. Now, what they did here, this guy, Izzy Mizuhara, the interpreter, initially started betting on DraftKings. Again, mistake, should have been at FanDuel in the first place.
There you go.
But then probably reads about Williams, the receiver from here with the Lions, right? Mm-hmm. And Calvin Ridley, and says, oh, man, they know where I'm gambling from and what I'm doing. I better switch to a bookie, which is, he switched to the illegal bookie.
And I believe California it's not legal to sports gamble
It's
there.
one of 12 states, which shocks me, that doesn't have legalized sports betting. So it seems like there was at least some knowledge on the part of either Mizuhara or Ohtani that they were doing something wrong here. And that's where the black eye is. But I think what sports needs to do is come to grips with the fact that, hey, there are so many people gambling. Our athletes are young men, and they have a lot of money. They're going to gamble. And so what you have to do is make sure that they aren't gambling on their own sport.
And how do you, I agree. I think you shouldn't be allowed to gamble on your own sport, because then you run into the situation where someone may think you're trying to change the outcome of a game.
Or insider knowledge,
Insider knowledge, something where, it's unfair. But as an athlete, I enjoy, gambling on baseball games because I'm a football player, or basketball because I'm a football player. I think it's unfortunate that they're unable to do that, and I don't know how you police it, other than, as you said, suspending a Jameson Williams for X number of games last year. I think it's difficult to police that, and I don't know where the line is for players and how they know that they've gone over that line.
I wonder just how this will affect the Dodgers' season. So now I'm looking at it from an on-field standpoint. We saw.
I don't think he's going to face any repercussions for it.
You don't think so?
I don't think
Not
so.
this season?
Not ever.
But what about the drama, though, that will ensue? Because we saw a ton of drama coming out of the Cardinals last year, and whether or not you want to believe it, I think that had a big deal to do with what happened last year. Just the constant, talking from the outside noise. I wonder if that will affect the Dodgers. I hope it does.
Here's the one positive, if you are Shohei Ohtani's people, is that they did turn the case over to authorities. So there doesn't appear to be any fear on their part, is that they went to, and I don't know if it was the LAPD or if they went to the FBI, but they did say to them that, hey, we got a problem here with massive fraud taking place and our guy being a victim of theft. I don't think you go to the authorities if you don't think that somebody did something to you. That would be because those guys are good at what they do, those investigators. It'd be pretty disingenuous to go to them and say, yeah, we've got a problem here.
Well, I mean, Chris Carter said it best. He said it at the rookie symposium, get your fall guy. He told you what to do. And whether or not you agree with it, Shohei probably understood, hey, I'm the big fish here. If he is involved, the best way to go about it is to blame it on your interpreter and your good friend.
Oh, yeah.
Because you don't want to be the face of this. And I think to a degree, I don't know. We may never know how informed Shohei was. Because you said, Randy, initially, oh, yeah, we were just covering his debt. And then, oh, we didn't know anything about it. It's one or the other, but more than likely it's the first rather than the latter.
How does he even, his interpreter, how does his interpreter even have the funds?
Well, they're super tight. So I think the interpreter had access to Ohtani's entire life.
I'm tight with a lot of people, Randy. None of them have access to my account.
That's what I'm saying.
None of them.
But there are athletes that don't know how to write a check.
I've seen that too.
Well, they didn't really teach us in school growing up,
no.
Right?
I've seen that. Yeah.
And you get an agent that you trust or a financial advisor or an interpreter, and there's a lot of trust that goes into players, especially with agents. But sometimes you can trust, clearly, somebody too much.
Yeah, I don't have anybody that I trusted at $4.5 million.
You went to the University of Illinois and graduated.
I did. ILO.
How are we doing here, by the way?
13-9, Morehead State over Illinois. It's about 5 minutes into the first quarter or first half.
Should we get the scores, by the way, of what's happened so far? You want to do that throughout the course of the afternoon?
We could do that. We probably should keep people informed that are driving in their cars so they don't have to look on their phones themselves.
Yeah, that's right.
Very responsible of you, Carey.
I'm always looking out for the people.
Yeah.
Well, Long Beach State, they were close with Arizona in that first half, and then things went haywire for them.
Yeah, 68-51, Long Beach is down. Arizona's up. North Carolina up 40-28 at halftime. Illinois losing right now, 15-13 a minute. First half, 14 minutes left in the first half. So we'll keep you all updated as we go along.
And we have had an upset already, BYU taken down.
I don't know if that was an upset.
Well, from the seeding standpoint, it is.
It's hard to seed some of these teams, I think.
That's true. I do feel like the tournament has gotten closer in terms of talent, and we see a ton more upsets than we have in the past. I love it.
I do too. It's March Madness. It's what we're here for. That's March. That's Randy Carrick. I'm Carey Davis. Coming up next, we have What's Trending on the Fast Lane.
Blues. What's trending now? Brought to you by Goodwill. Donate a car and get tickets to the St. Louis Cardinals.
Welcome back to the Fast Lane. I'm Carey Davis, joined by Randy Carricker and Andrew Marsh. And it's time for What's Trending. The Illini are trending with Marsh. Just
Okay,
so you know.
can I ask a quick question?
Yes.
If you were a quarterback, would you be able to do your job with your voice as it is right
Yeah, we would go silent count.
Okay.
I asked you that the other day.
We would be in the huddle now. You got to lean in close. If we're in Baltimore or DC, wherever we are, it's going to be loud. Get in close. I'm going to tell you the play. Ready, break. And we're going silent count.
Did I ever tell you about the football Cardinal quarterback, Bill Donkers, that stuttered?
No.
They never caught it during training camp. He makes the team.
Are you serious?
He makes the team, and then Jim Hart gets hurt. He's out for a play. Donkers gets into the huddle. Boys. And then he gets up to the line of scrimmage. Home game. Same thing.
False start.
Can you imagine? He wasn't nervous during training camp.
It's like the lawyer from My Cousin Vinny.
Yeah, exactly.
Reminds me of Matt Saracen from Friday Night Lights.
Oh, man.
Right.
My bad. What's that for us, Marsh?
Yeah, Carey, you did mention your Illini are trending, and they are currently losing, but not by that much.
Okay.
So you're fine. But I wanted to ask you guys this question. What are some of has college basketball, has it lost a lot of its juice? The men's game, March Madness, it doesn't feel the way it felt previously. Maybe that's because the players aren't as popular as they once were. And you actually mentioned the coaches maybe not being as popular as they once were either, because we've lost a lot of greats as of late. But what do you guys think? Is the juice still there for men's college basketball?
I don't think it is, and I think there's a couple of reasons. Number one, I think the transfer portal has prevented players from becoming stars with a team. Caleb Love, St. Louis kid, was with NC, won a championship with them. Then he moves to Arizona, and you kind of lose him, right? With Christian Laettner, you knew where he was, with the Duke guys, but even the one and dones in Kentucky, you knew who they were, and you don't. And then the other, like I told you guys earlier, in the space of like 3 or 4 years, you've lost Coach K, Roy Williams, Boeheim, Bob Huggins. A little bit before that, you've lost several other legendary coaches. And that's what college basketball was all about, was the legendary coaches. We just don't have those guys anymore.
I agree. I think the women's game is probably more recognizable. You got the names. You got the Angel Reese's. You got Caitlin Clark, who you talked about. You got the coaches, Kim Mulkey and Don Staley. You know the coaches. Gino Auriemma. You have players, Paige Beckers. Like it's so many names on the women's side that on the men's side, you just, as you said, Randy, you don't know who these people are. They're either one and done or they're transferring teams. The coaches are hard to keep up with. But I do think at this time, whenever the NCAA tournament starts, everybody's going to be down.
Right.
Now, you may not know who the hell is going to win because you haven't been able to keep up with all the teams, but it's always going to be exciting.
Right, and we'll learn players' names throughout the course of the tournament. Is the fact that Coach K isn't at Duke, because everybody used to unify against Duke.
Yeah.
Is that a big thing? Do you need that hateable team?
I think so. I mean, I think it makes sports fun. Duke just always had guys that you wanted to punch. Like Christian Laettner was a guy like that.
Grayson
You
Allen.
didn't like Grayson Allen. Like just a bunch of guys. Shane Battier, who I did like in the NBA, but I think in college people didn't like him. And so, but they always they were just tough, hard-nosed teams, and they found a way to win. But you also found a way to hate them.
Yeah.
Because you just didn't like their guys.
And they won. They were number one seed every year.
Every year.
I wonder if Kyle Filipowski is now that guy for Duke, because
he tripped the guy.
yeah, there's a little controversy there, and then he was back before people probably thought he would be, and so they made a big deal out of
He
probably
wasn't
nothing. But I agree. I don't know if there's a team right now that is that hateable team where you're looking at them, you're like, I'm watching this game because I want them to lose.
I don't think that team exists right now.
I don't know. Maybe it's Illinois.
I knew you were going to say that.
No. By the way,
down 19-16.
19-16, 11:51 left in the first half. Illinois favored by 10.5, and they covered. They will cover.
There you go. Terrence Shannon going to score 40 tonight.
Do you think Purdue is a team that people are watching because they have had no success as of recent in the tournament, and they're watching because they want them to lose again.
Early exits.
Because it's funny.
Yeah, Zach Edey is a large human being, right? And so he draws a lot of attention, but they haven't had the success yet. And until you actually do it, there's a part in your brain that feels like, we can't do this. And unless they're able to get out of the first round, make it to the Sweet 16, maybe make it to the Elite Eight, they're going to have that doubt. But I think they are a really good team.
Purdue is a really good team. They would have been a great team in 1984.
Yeah.
They aren't playing the 2024 version of great basketball.
Yep. It has changed.
Yeah.
Most teams don't play with a big man, and they play through their big man. They're going to slow the game down. They're going to throw him down the ball down in the post and let him work.
Yep.
And that's just not how basketball is now. You got 7-footers that'll bring you out to the three-point line and shoot shots, and it's going to be hard for him to transition and cover those guys. So it is a different game. But if you slow it down and are able to get stops on the defensive end, they can actually have a good tournament
That's
run.
the thing. If they go against another good team, they're going to have to take the tempo away from that other team and not be able to allow them to run.
Yep.
Randy, you brought up Ozzie earlier in the show, and Ozzie Smith for the past few months, it seems like, has been teasing a backflip. And me personally, I thought he was actually going to do a backflip. It turns out that backflip all-star craft cocktails from Ozzie Smith will be in stores next week, and you can enjoy
in stores now.
In stores now,
Yep.
and you can enjoy the cocktails at the stadium and at Ballpark Village. I find this to be awesome.
It's really cool. Ozzie joined us in studio in the opening drive a couple of days ago and brought in some of the backflip cocktails. And here's how it happened. He, at his golf tournament last year, they had this specially made Ozzie Smith cocktail. And it was the first thing to go. Went before all the beer, all the soda, all the water, everything. And so they thought, wow, this is popular because people really liked it. So they decided to mass produce it. And Ozzie's backflip cocktails are delicious. And it's a great local product. So take advantage of it. Osborne Earl, everything he does touches to gold, even his gloves.
He knows how to do it well. He's spectacular.
He is.
He's a better man than he is baseball player, too. I definitely enjoyed it.
He's a solid golf player, too.
Yeah.
He is really, really good.
Him and Willard Hill go at it a lot on that golf course.
Yeah, well, I asked Oz about that the other day because the goal, I think, for Willard, and I feel bad if Willard is listening, but the goal for Willard is to win a match. They play a couple times a week all summer long, and Ozzie wins every time. And Willard got him out in November last year when Ozzie hadn't played for a while, and Willard beat him. And I said, is it a rivalry? And he said, it's more of a dynasty than a rivalry.
Are you guys upset, though, that we won't see, like, an actual backflip? Because
He's 69.
I don't know. I don't know. Maybe he's got something that we don't know.
No, I don't need to see that. I
don't
want to
think
see.
so?
I don't need to see the Great Wizard of Oz on the IL to start the season. I'm okay.
I'll say this, until Mason Wynn came up last year, and maybe even after Mason Wynn came up last year, then 68-year-old Ozzie Smith would have been the Cardinals' best defensive shortstop.
That says a lot.
Sorry, Paul DeYoung, I'm telling it like it is.
Last thing here, spring training action. The Cardinals are losing 8-1 in the top of the ninth inning. So not a great day for the Cards by any means. But, I'm looking at Zach Thompson. He pitched today, 4 innings pitched, gave up 6 hits, 2 earned runs. He walked 2, struck out 2. What are you seeing from Zach Thompson? Do you think he'll be in the starting rotation quicker than expected?
Well, it depends on injuries, right? It depends on this older group of gentlemen. I won't call them old. I'll call them older seasoned veterans. It depends on how well or how healthy they can stay. And probably because right now it doesn't look like Sonny Gray will be there for opening day, so he may be your 5th starter to start the season, so just by default. But once everyone is healthy, it just really depends on how long they can stay healthy and how well they're performing. I don't know, and Anthony and I were talking about this last week, I don't know that even if they are struggling, that they moved one of them to the bullpen or DFA any of them. I think they're going to let them figure it out. I think it'll take an injury for one of those other guys to get into the starting rotation.
Here's my thought on this. I think if the Cardinals are fortunate enough to be a playoff team, I don't think that, with all due respect to Kyle Gibson or Lance Lynn, I don't think they're number 2 starters in a playoff series. Sonny Gray, if he's healthy, can start game one of a playoff for you, a coin flip. I think Zach Thompson has to ascend to being the Cardinals' number 2 starter if they're going to be a good team. And he's got the talent for it. They just need to let him pitch. If he winds up being really good, and we saw a great stretch from him last year, if all of a sudden you have Gray pitching like he pitched last year, I know that's a big if, and Thompson, and then Michaelis number 3, and then Lynn, Gibson number 4 or 5, if Thompson is good enough to be a number 2, I can live with that. But I don't think the Cardinals can be really productive in the postseason or in big series unless they have a legitimate number 2, and I think he's the only guy right now capable of being that guy.
By the way, we got a text from the 573. Randy, why do you hate Khalil Green?
Oh, come on. Just scratch that.
That's Randy Carricker, Andrew Marshall, I'm Kerry Davis. Coming up next, Yoshinobu Yamamoto struggled in his season debut. Is the crowd that says spending does not guarantee winning, gaining steam. We'll talk about it next on the Fast Lane. Welcome back to the Fast Lane. I'm Carey Davis, joined by Randy Carricker and Andrew Marsh. And fellas, Yoshinobu Yamamoto was one of the big splashes for the Dodgers this offseason to the tune of 12 years, $325 million in his first start. He pitched 1 inning, gave up 4 hits, and allowed 5 earned runs. Probably not the return on investment you were looking for after 1. I don't think that that's what they were expecting. But there's the crowd that has been talking about spending does not equal winning. Are they gaining steam after seeing that performance? Now, albeit it's 1 game, but that's not how you want to come out for your first major league start.
I don't think that group of people needs any more steam. We all saw the Arizona Diamondbacks in the World Series last year, right? With their young team. We all know that the Yankees and the Dodgers since 2010, and the Yankees were last in the World Series in 2009. Since 2010, the Yankees and the Dodgers have been in the top 5 in spending, right? And between them, they have won 0 full season World Series. The Dodgers won in the COVID year. It's all about spending smart. It's not about bludgeoning people with the amount of money you spend. It's about being smart. Now, that being said, the Dodgers are a combination of smart and good in terms of spending. He's going to be fine. Yamamoto, that many people can't be wrong about the guy. He had a bad major league debut, but he's going to be fine. And, are the Dodgers going to win the World Series? Maybe, maybe not. There's a lot of randomness in the postseason. But they are in the playoffs every year, and they always seem to win their division. So their smart spending is the reason that they do it.
I mean, this is not the first time, though, that he's been lit up, because in spring training, he also did not have a strong showing. But I'm with you. I can't see this guy being terrible for, 1, a full season, and 2, the rest of his career. I think maybe they don't get the return on investment that they're looking for in terms of the dollar amount, because they paid a lot for this guy.
Correct.
But I do think he's going to be a solid pitcher, and being on this team, you can get away apparently with giving up 5 runs in the first inning, because the Dodgers, yes, they lost, but they still scored 11 runs today. I think they're going to be just fine.
I agree. I mean, they have a team that, albeit they spent a lot of money for a lot of players, but they are a team that can win in multiple ways. They can win with pitching. They can win with hitting. They can field well, their positions well. So they're a team that is built to make a run. Now, can they withstand any injuries that they're going to have? Because we know injuries always are something that take place during a long Major League Baseball season. But this team is built, as you said, Randy, for a run in the playoffs. 2
things. Number 1, are either of you really looking forward to a week from tomorrow when the Cardinals face Yamamoto? I'm not.
I mean, I am, just because I can't wait for baseball season to
But
start. But absolutely not.
In terms of winning the game? No, I'm not either. Here's the other thing. We all talk about.
That's unfortunate, Randy.
It is, but it is what it is.
It's a countdown to doomsday.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
And did I tell you guys I saw Glasnow last week, and he threw 5 1/3 hitless against the Giants. He just shoved against the Giants. He was great, and he's starting the opener next week. But the other thing is, we all talk about Ohtani being the best player, and I think that is fair. I think we can say that Ohtani is the best player. But if Mookie Betts moves to shortstop and is great there, how can we say he's not the best guy?
Just can do everything.
Yeah.
Just put him anywhere, let him play. He's so athletic. I do enjoy watching him play baseball, because anytime you get to watch people play with joy and excitement, that for me is always fun. In a sport that doesn't seem to want to embrace that side of things.
Joy, right.
Joy, have fun, be excited, steal bases, you clap, flip your bat if you make a big play, if you hit a ball far. Who the hell cares? Yeah. That's the thing that I think baseball needs most, and Mookie Betts and some of these younger players that we're starting to see come around are bringing that to the game.
Their play-by-play guy, the Dodgers radio play-by-play guy, calls Mookie Betts the $350 million bargain.
I'm actually shocked. Like, going back to that trade, what were the Red Sox thinking?
It was all money. They were ridiculously over, and this goes back to spending. They were going to have to spend like $60 million a year for him because of the luxury tax.
Right.
Dodgers don't care about the luxury tax. Well, they kind of do, because Ohtani's taking the deferred money. But I do think to people always talk about the Cardinals spending more, and I say it's not about spending more. The fact of the matter is, with the Cardinals, when they spent $82.5 million on Dexter Fowler. They spent $80 million on Mike Leake. They spent $87.5. We don't know what Contreras is going to be, but we know he didn't catch well last year for them. They gave $48 million to Andrew Miller. They gave $51 million to Carlos Martinez. They've handed the $18 million a year for the last few years of Matt Carpenter, his first stint here. The Cardinals have poorly spent a lot of money. It's not the amount of money that they spent, it's the way you spend it.
The players that you spend it on and the return on the investment. Like what you are, I think Dexter Fowler, we expected much more and didn't get enough. Marcell Ozuna, you talk about him as well. Didn't get the play that he had before he came over here. So you have some players but then you get Goldie and Arenado, and you get two players that are first and third in MVP voting. So you can almost say, okay, we can accept that. But it's some of those other players that you look at. Even Steven Matz is probably on that list. Now it's $11 million a year, but you still, I don't know that you've gotten the amount of play that you want from him just yet.
No.
To validate that contract.
And there's a lot of fans out there that wish that Lance Lynn wasn't signed, Kyle Gibson wasn't signed, because there's roughly 20-ish million right there that you could have
spent it on Blake Snell.
Exactly.
Jordan Montgomery.
I mean, most preaching patience. I mean, you just got to be patient and know that Blake Snell ain't going to be signed until a week before the actual season starts.
And that's the thing. And he's going to get hurt. He's going to get hurt. And Montgomery's going to get hurt because all of those guys do that show up in the middle of spring training. And you just can't assume that you're going to get the guy either. If you're the Cardinals, you say, oh, you know what, we'll pass on Lynn, we'll pass on Gibson because we're going to get Blake Snell. Well, how do you know you're going to get Blake Snell?
Randy, we're talking about spending. So what are the characteristics or the traits of a championship team? Is it spending not frugally? I mean, because we talk about the Diamondbacks a lot, but I always say there's an exception to the rule. That is the exception. Do not expect a team like that to make a run every single year to be in a World Series. But then you also say that spending is not the way. So what is the best way to build your roster?
The model, and we talked about this last year, the model is Atlanta now, right? You properly evaluate your pitchers and your position players. But you look at Acuna. They go out and spend in the international market. They keep him around. In all these years where the Cardinals have spent all this money in the international market, the only international player they've ever had that's lasted a full season with them is Carlos Martinez. Arozarena didn't. Garcia didn't. Alcantara didn't. You have to evaluate your guys and keep them around. And then Atlanta, they did a great job of drafting Fried and Strider and the other starter last year, Bryce Elder. They've done a really good job of drafting, developing, and evaluating their own players. And the Cardinals, how much better would they have been if they didn't trade Alcantara and Gallen for Marcell Ozuna?
Much better.
They didn't evaluate their guys.
And I think they're still in a position now where you talk about paying those young players so that you can get them on the books. I think they're in a position now where they can kind of correct some of this if they are willing to do that with Jordan Walker, Mason Wynn, Victor Scott, and giving those guys a contract. Now, Victor and Mason probably still have a little bit more to prove, but I would lock Jordan up right now.
I would too.
I would give him money and say, the hell with it. You're a Cardinal for the foreseeable future.
Here's the thing. If you signed Jordan Walker tomorrow, it'd probably cost you $300 million for 13 years. If you wait till next year, it'll be between $350 and $4 million.
Is this going to go up every year?
Yeah.
That's Randy. That's Marshall. I'm Carey. Coming up next, the Blues take on the Ottawa Senators tonight. We'll talk to the voice of the Blues, Chris Kerber, pick his brain to see if this Blues team has enough to make a playoff push. That's next on the Fast Lane.
the voice of the Blues, Chris Kerber. Brought to you by Scott Lee Heating Company, a proud Mitsubishi Electric Elite contractor.
Take it.
Welcome back to the Fast Lane. I'm Carey Davis, joined by Andrew Marsh and Randy Carricker. And we go to the celebrity line and talk to our good friend, voice of the Blues, Chris Kerber. Curbs, how you doing, brother?
It's cold up here in Canada, but aside from that, being done with the cold, I'm good.
Well, I'm still trying to get over a cold, so we got something in common, I guess. Curbs, the Blues take on the Ottawa Senators tonight. They're coming off a tough loss a couple of nights ago. What are you expecting from them tonight, and are they going to make this push for the playoffs?
Yeah, Carey, I don't know the answer to either one of those.
Oh, Curbs,
I don't know.
we call you for the information
anymore, and I don't have the crystal ball. I can't look into the future. I have to go game by game and moment to moment with this team. They've been on a good rush. They've been on a good push. I thought they played a good game against Colorado, and I think if they play that same way tonight, they're going to have good success here in Ottawa. So if they find that consistency back in their game, I think you got to like their chances of keeping it interesting.
Curbs, this team is hopefully ascending. We were talking earlier about Jordan Kyrou and his inconsistency. You think Jordan Kyrou can change the narrative about himself just in a little 13-game stretch here?
Can he change the narrative? No. Can he do a lot to make it easier on himself? Absolutely. We actually talked to Drew Bannister about this today, and we look at very easily we can kind of rail on the young man by saying, he won't go to the wall, he won't join the battle along the boards. He constantly puts himself in tough ice where the puck's getting turned over. But we had to find out a little bit more as to why. And what we were told is when you're getting consistency in his pro game, he's still growing on. You're looking at year 3 full-time in the National Hockey League, and this is a guy that's put up 70 points each of the last 2 years, and frankly had the power play been better, and he's been a little more consistent. It's easily a 70-point season for him again this year. That's not easy to do, as we've seen over the last 25 years for the Blues. So you have potential. The question is can consistency get in his game? And we were told that, when he's skating, when he's using his speed as his weapon, which speed is one of his biggest attributes, then he's most effective in the game. So when he gets caught standing around, that you do things like take that tripping penalty and such. So, and the reason I say I don't think he can erase the narrative is you're going to need consistency for longer than 13 games to be able to pull it off, Randy. So for me, though, he can definitely change the discussion into the summer if you see more consistency over these last 13 games, if that makes any sense.
Curbs, is that just a will and want-to on his behalf? We talked about it. We know he has the talent. What is going to kind of be that shift in his mindset that he will play with that effort and skate and use his speed and use all the tools that have been given to him?
Yeah, that's a great question, Carey, because you've seen that be different for every player, right? Sometimes it's a change of scenery for a player and getting traded that seems to jolt them. Sometimes it's a veteran player. Sometimes it's a moment. I don't know. I gotta think I think without a doubt there was an aha moment early in this year when when he didn't handle the Craig Berube situation properly or very well. And I think at some point in time he'll just have to determine, watching Robert Thomas, watching Braden Shen, watching Jake Neighbors maybe more specifically, as Jake Neighbors has just literally bumped people out of the top 6 this year because of his style of play. Eventually you're going to see it and say, okay, I'm tired of that, and you make the will to change it. So, yeah, I do think it's a will thing. I do think it's a mental thing. I think he definitely has the skill set. He just is going to have to put that foot forward, to be better at it. And once he does that a few times and gets that success reinforcement, then it builds in your game. It's still part of building that foundation, and him trying to come into his own while this team is drifted into a transition is very different than Robert Thomas having come into his own under 4 years with Ryan O'Reilly and David Perron and Alexander Steen and Jay Bomeister and Gunnarsson and those guys. It's a very different experience, I think, so far in the early days for Kyrou than it was for Robert Thomas. And but he's still going to have to get there. And look, he's shown that he's got all the talent in the world. He was a phenomenal second-round pick by the St. Louis Blues. And if you can get more of that consistency because you're relying on him now, that's the key.
Curbs, the Blues take on Ottawa tonight. Brady Tkachuk is there. He's going to be their bell cow for a long time. He's under contract long term, and there's no way that the new owner is going to allow him to get away. As you watch the games and broadcast the games where Matthew and Brady play against the Blues, do you get the sense that there's a little bit more juice in their game? I do, and I know there's always juice in the Tkachuk games, but they seem to really enjoy playing against the Blues.
Brady said to me today, these are fun games to play in. I think he enjoys playing against them because it is the team that her dad played for, and it's a team they grew up watching and grew up hanging around against. So, yeah, I think there's a little extra juice in there. When, like, man, I was standing next to him going, this is just a specimen of a human being. I mean, we've got some guys that are 6'4", 220, but their composition of how they got to 220 is a little bit different. You know, there's different types of 220. One is rock solid like this young man is, and he's a great leader. He's leading the way. The question is, you know, he's 6 years into his NHL career. Yes, he signed a long-term deal here, you know, but he'll be knocking on the door of being a free agent, right? You know, at the end of that, still in his prime, and I think things got to turn around fairly quick here. Otherwise, at some point in time, Brady, and I'm not putting words in his mouth. This is me saying it. Like, I just 6 years with no playoffs for this young man doesn't seem right. So I gotta think at some point in time, yeah, they are going to use him as their bell cow, but they got to get it figured out. I mean, this has been way too long without playoffs here.
Curbs, you mentioned Jake Neighbors. He played his way up into that first line the other night. What did you see from that first line and that small sample size, and what can we expect to see from them tonight against the Senators?
It changes the dynamic of that line, doesn't it? It's more of a grind it down low, work it out of the corner, go in hard at the puck and get to the front of the net than it is kind of a fly around, whip past the front of the net kind of style that you saw more with Buchnevich and Carey on flanking Robert Thomas. So to me, Andrew, it's changed the style of play of that line to more of an offensive zone time kind of line than a one and done. And the more offensive zone time Robert Thomas can get in the top line, or more offensive zone time he can get, the better this team is going to be. That line with Buchnevich on one side and Carey on the other was way too many times just one and done in the offensive zone for them to be as effective as they could be.
Curbs, Zachary Dean getting his start tonight. Oscar Sundqvist is a healthy scratch. What do you expect from the young man in his first opportunity?
I think he's just going to, you know what, he was playing well. He's been sitting out for a little while because the team went on a winning streak. So I think he's going to have nerves coming in. He played his junior hockey in Gatineau, which is only about a 35, 40-minute ride from here. So he's going to have a lot of people. His mom and dad changed their plans. They were flying back to Newfoundland yesterday, but when they found out he was going to play, they changed their plans and took a train from Toronto here to Ottawa here. So I think there's going to be nerves and just a lot of fun. I go in with no expectations for a young man in his first NHL game other than it's a lifelong bit of work to get him there. And we'll see. Now, he's going to play at center. I don't know how many minutes he's going to play. The game flow is going to obviously dictate that. He started he wasn't adjusting great at the pro game when he first started, so Drew Bannister put him on the wing. He moved back to center, and if you talk to the coaches down there over the last month and a half, he's probably been their best forward. So that's a good sign, and being that it's been a week and a half or so since he's been into action because he flew home with the team from Boston, I'm sure he's going to have a little extra giddy up and some of that adrenaline flowing right down to his ankles.
Are you surprised that Sonny is the one that is going to be out tonight?
Yeah, I am a little bit, to be honest with you. But it's the first game that Oscar hasn't played this year. I think he's had a very solid year. I think for Oscar, it's a chance for him to rest up. He will go back in. Drew Bannister told us that he will go back in for the game against Minnesota. So, it's one of those, like, who do you take out? That third line's been going pretty well. Toropchenko and Walker have been going well. You could make the case that maybe you sit Bolduc, but they're pretty happy with his play. And Drew Bannister made it clear to us today, look, he's not sitting Oscar Sundqvist the same way he sat maybe Kapanen or Perunovic the last time because of the play. This is just, they want to get this young man in. He's been here for a little while, and somebody has to sit out, so it's a good chance for Oscar to take a bit of a breather.
Curbs, obviously it's March Madness. Who do you have winning the big tournament, and is your bracket busted already?
I am going to disappoint everybody and tell you that I have not even looked at a bracket.
Oh, man. Curbs.
Guys, and I'm going to tell you how bad it is this year. I don't think I could name you one college basketball player.
Well, you're not alone there.
If you put a gun to my head and said name of a college basketball player, well, you might as well just put me in the box.
Curbs, name us a college hockey player from Minnesota.
Jimmy Snuggerud. I'm all over that one, Randy. Thank you for saving me on that.
You got it, brother.
The Blues take on the Ottawa Senators tonight at 6. Pre-game begins at 5 p.m. You can catch Curbs and Joey tonight. Curbs, thank you so much for joining us. We'll talk to you next week.
All right, guys. Talk to you in a bit.
See you, Curbs.
Thanks, guys. All right,
Nobody. We were all struggling with college basketball players. It's just the lay of the land now.
I think I could maybe name 3. Obviously, I named Kyle Filipowski, Caleb Love, and Armando Bacot.
Terrence Shannon Jr.
There you go.
Armando Bacot has been in college for like 15 years, so
He
it's
has.
almost pretty simple.
Yeah.
He's been there a while.
Oh, by the way, big game Gibby Gibson Jimerson entering the transfer portal.
Really?
For his 16th year of
Oh,
college.
my goodness. He's going to be around for a while. That's Randy. That's Marshall. I'm Carey. Coming up next, Randy, I don't know if you've done this yet. Prove me wrong. Where a fan gives us a statement, and we have to tell them why they are wrong. That's next on the Fast Lane.
Easy to drink, easy to enjoy.
Prove me wrong, kids. Prove me wrong.
Take it.
Welcome back to the Fast Lane. I'm Carey Davis, joined by Randy Carricker and Andrew Marsh, and it is time for Prove Me Wrong, where our fans give us a statement that they believe to be true, and we prove them wrong. So, Bradford, have at it. Or are you doing it?
I'm doing it. Oh, yeah. I've already
Oh.
talked with Bradford. We have the dings and the ready to go. We'll see if the
I was hoping
comes
for
into
Judge
play today.
Bradford Bruns, not Judge Marshy Marsh. But okay.
From the 573, prove me wrong. The Cardinals' ceiling this season is 87 wins and or first-round postseason exit.
Well, the reason why you're wrong is the Cardinals' ceiling is actually 162 wins. I mean, that's the ceiling. That's the most you can win, and that's essentially what we're striving for. We want to win every game. Now, realistically, we're not, but a 90-plus win season for the Cardinals after a 91-loss season. Don't worry about last season. We're focused on the future. Right now, this Cardinals team, they went out and got how many pitchers? 3, because they knew that the pitching staff was struggling. The bullpen, got that corrected as well. Jordan Walker, stud. Nolan Arenado, stud. Paul Goldschmidt, stud. Do you see where I'm going with this, Judge? We got studs on our team, and therefore the ceiling is 162, not 83. And that's what we're striving for.
The 87 was, prove me wrong, 87 is the ceiling?
87 is the
Yeah,
ceiling.
87 is not the ceiling
Yeah.
for this squad. You said they went out and got 3 pitchers. How many
Yeah.
good ones?
3 great ones.
I admire the confidence, but last year Lance Lynn, 5.73 earned run average. Last year Kyle Gibson, 4.73 earned run average. This team won 71 games last year. They're substantially better, but their ceiling is 83 or 84. It's not an 87 win.
I need to talk with my.
Hold on now.
I have to talk with my partner here. He's new to the rules. We're trying to prove the caller wrong.
He said the ceiling was 87.
yeah,
I'm saying the ceiling is not that high.
It's higher. Trust me. It's 162.
I will say, unfortunately, Carey, I was about to give you the right. However, Randy may have saved you guys
we'll go with
because
that.
I tend to agree with Randy that lower 80 could be the ceiling of this team. You're 20 games under 500. You can't go to 90 wins.
Sure you can.
Bradford, give me the. Oh no. Thank you.
162 is what I'm striving for. I don't know about
That's a
you.
good thing to strive for. It is. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll see what happens in game 1. We'll see if it's still 162. All right, from the 314, prove me wrong. Losing Alex Pietrangelo was a bigger blow to the city than losing Albert Pujols.
You're wrong. You're just wrong. Albert Pujols was, and granted, losing Petro was a big deal, but Albert Pujols was the face of St. Louis sports. And you don't lose somebody like that. You don't lose an iconic, legendary player who was one of the 4 or 5 best to ever play, the 4 or 5 best to ever hit. You don't just lose that guy and move on. Now, granted, did the Cardinals win a little bit when he left? Yes. But just in terms of the individual, if you ask 100 Americans, if you put the face of Albert Pujols in front of them and the face of Alex Pietrangelo in front of them, half might be able to name Albert Pujols, 40%, maybe 5, or at tops, maybe 1 American would be able to recognize Alex Pietrangelo. You don't lose the face of your city and just have it be something that can be overtaken by a guy who was the captain of your Stanley Cup champions. Unfortunately, hockey just isn't close to baseball in terms of the national consciousness.
There you go.
Bradford, we're going to give it to him.
There we go.
This one comes from Frick James on the Snake Pit. Prove me wrong. NCAA football should initiate a one-and-done rule for running backs.
Oh, well, I mean, why would we want to do that? Why would you want to limit the best position on the field to one and done. Are you going to send them to the NFL? Are you saying that they can go? Nah, you're not seasoned. And listen, at 19 years old, I was not ready to play against grown men. I was barely holding on against the grown men in college. So if you were telling me that I could go to the NFL, I know Maurice Claret tried to leave early, took it to court, and it didn't pan out for him. You know why? Because his body wasn't ready. Mentally, you're not ready. You're not able to sustain that type of beating that you get as an NFL running back. I had to play running back a couple of times. I looked at Willie Parker and told him, you can have it. I don't want to do it. I'll block. I'd rather see the guys that I have to hit than not know where they're coming from. So as a 19-year-old man, no, don't implement that rule. You're trying to harm. We want to give these guys longevity. Now, go to a program in college where there are a couple of guys so you're not running the ball 45 times a game and then worn down by the time you get to the NFL. But one and done for running backs, I'm not okay with it.
Can I prove him wrong in 6 words?
Yes.
Did you watch Cody Schrader play?
There you go. Get better with age, like fine wine.
I do think it's an interesting topic of conversation, but I'm not going to go against the guy that actually did it. So, Bradford.
You hit the nail on the head.
Yes, thank you, Janet. We're going to stay in the snake pit with Bach. Prove me wrong. Oliver Marmol will not finish the season as the coach or the manager of your St. Louis Cardinals.
It's easy to prove wrong. He just got a contract extension. He's going to be here for the whole year. Of course he is. The Cardinals, they could win 71 games again, and he'll still be the manager for game 162 of the season.
That's pretty self-explanatory. Bradford, we're going to give it to him. All right, from the 314, prove me wrong. No more fielders indifference for stolen bases. All bases stolen count as stolen.
Say that again.
If I'm reading this correctly, from the 314, prove me wrong. No more fielders indifference for stolen bases. All bases stolen count as stolen.
You know, you're absolutely wrong about that because you don't want to bastardize the stolen base stats. So you take away fielders' indifference. Vince Coleman had to work hard to steal 110 bases and 109 bases. Lou Brock had to work hard to steal 118 in a season. Ricky Anderson had to work hard to steal 130. All of a sudden, you're giving people stolen bases when they're not being held and nobody's trying to defend them. It is defensive indifference. And there's no way that somebody should be rewarded because the other team isn't even trying to stop them.
I'm with Randy.
I mean, with bringing up Vince Coleman, those guys did have to work hard. Bradford, let's hear it. From the 636, prove me wrong. Shohei Ohtani's walk-up song will be "The Gambler" by Kenny Rogers.
Hey, listen, Shohei already said he had nothing to do with it. He knew nothing about this alleged gambling ring that was going on from his interpreter / best friend. Why would he even deal in that world when that had nothing to do with him? He's going to continue to play baseball. He got his guy. He's going to take care of him, whatever needs to happen. But that's off the field. Shohei is he's a professional. He's focused on the game of baseball and doing the best job that he can for the Dodgers. He doesn't worry about the music and what took place with his best friend.
I agree.
Not his job.
100%. And CD, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that Shohei's walk-up song was chosen the day he signed the contract. It's money, 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 money.
All of it.
I agree with you guys. We have one more here from the 636. Prove me wrong. And there might be a typo on here, but I'm going to assume that for what I say, this is what the texter is referring to. Prove me wrong. Fantasy baseball is better and more rewarding than fantasy football.
Pshaw.
Well,
here's the thing. I'll start with this. As somebody who played fantasy baseball poorly for several years, you have to be a degenerate to spend as much time as it takes to play fantasy baseball, don't you?
Yeah, I've done it too. I was terrible.
It's like 24/7. You can't do that. No, if you don't have a life, sure, fantasy baseball is great. Fantasy football, you get in there on Wednesday afternoon, click, 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 click. I got my lineup set. I'm done. Baseball, man, you have to pay attention to every single player on every single team, every single game. No, it's not worth it. As much as I love baseball, from a lifestyle standpoint, it's just not worth it.
I agree with you. I hate fantasy baseball.
You have to spend as much time playing fantasy baseball as you do being addicted to golf.
I love golf, though.
I do too.
Bradford, give us the dig.
Sorry.
Thank you. That was prove me wrong. Great job by Randy Carricker. Great job, Marsh Bradford. Thank you. Back in the studio. I'm Carey Davis. The Cardinals, do they have the tendency to hide their prospects? We're talking about Victor Scott, whether or not he'll be on the opening day roster. We saw it last season with Jordan Walker. Mason Wynn coming up late. We'll talk about that next on the Fast Lane.
From the opening drive.
Take it.
Welcome back to the Fast Lane. I'm Carey Davis, joined by Randy Carricker and Andrew Martian. We talked about this before we went to break. The Cardinals, do they have the tendency to hide their prospects? This question came up because of Victor Scott II and whether or not he will be on the opening day roster. Is that something that they want to do to start his clock, or is it that they would rather send him down? And we saw that with Jordan Walker last year. We saw Mason Wynn, who we thought kind of questioned whether or not he would be up sooner, finally came up at the end of the season. Is this something that the Cardinals are doing or that they have done? And if so, why?
My opinion is that the Cardinals don't season their young players enough.
Okay.
I don't think Jordan Walker got enough time in the minor leagues. He never played a day in AAA before he got here. Look at what they did with Hicks and Helsley. Jordan Hicks never even played or pitched in AA or AAA before he came here. Helsley pitched a little bit between A-ball and the majors, but I think it was only something like 38 games. I don't think that these players are polished enough when they get here. Now, that's the way baseball is these days, but I wish the Cardinals actually would give their players more time to be ready at the major league level when they show up.
Do you think that that's a detriment to them and their maturation of the process? Because I think when you are stuck in the minors and scratching and clawing, taking buses, not living the major league lifestyle, I think that gives you a little bit of hunger and desire. Do you think that they're kind of not allowing them to gain some of that by bringing them up so soon?
I agree with you 100%. And the other part of it is just experience. Victor Scott II has 656 minor league at-bats. The old adage, and this was a long time ago in the 70s, but the teams wanted players to have 5,000 minor league at-bats before they made it to the majors. They wanted them to have that much experience. Now, it's dropped, but I still think 1,000 at-bats and that level of experience would be fair for a young player, because it's easy, as we saw with Jordan Walker last year at times, and certainly Herrera before last year, it's easy, and Mason Wynn too. It's easy to get overwhelmed early on in your career if you don't have enough experience. You aren't given enough opportunities to deal with adversity.
Do you think that Michael Harris Jr. winning the National League Rookie of the Year and jumping from AA to the majors had an impact on Jordan Walker being on the team last year? Do you think if he doesn't do that, if he goes to AAA and then comes up, do you think that the Cardinals felt that they needed to bring Jordan Walker up? Do you think the two are related at all?
I don't think I don't think the Cardinals are reactionary, but Chris Bryant only played 2 weeks of AAA ball, and he was Rookie of the Year and then MVP the next year after that. No, I think that's just the way it is now, because the teams like to have inexpensive players at the major league level, and if they make an investment on a young player, they like to get them to the major league level. I don't think that baseball as an industry is as concerned about the quality of their product as they used to be. I think they just want to throw guys into the fire, and everybody's replaceable, as we've seen. And I think it's really, from an industry perspective, not necessarily just the Cardinals, I think it's about having guys that are young and cheap.
Does it, I mean, because I can see both sides of it. If you have a young, talented player and he can help your team, I don't necessarily want him in the minors wasting time or not wasting away. I understand the part of gaining seasoning and getting better and facing different adversities and things like that. But if he's able to help right now, I actually would want him to make some of those mistakes at the big league level, where maybe the better coaching is to correct some of those mistakes and get him better and get him prepared to play 130, 145 games.
Agreed. Willie Mays came up when he was 20 years old in 1951. He proved that. Sam Musial came up when he was 20 years old in 1941. So the guys that show that they're capable of doing it are fine for me. But I have not difficulty with, but it would be nice to see a guy like Jordan Walker play a little bit of AAA baseball, and he did, unfortunately, after the Cardinals said, well, he handled adversity really well, and then he
12-game hitting streak. Yeah, you're not hitting it high enough for us. You're hitting everything on the ground. Now, it's going through, but we want it driven out there.
But when we talk about pitching and defense, and especially defense, is it fair to Jordan Walker or Cardinal fans or the team that's trying to win to have Jordan Walker try to learn how to play right field at the major league level?
No. That I do think is something you should have corrected. You should have had him playing. If you knew that he was not going to be an infielder based on the people that you have in the infield, he should have had some more reps and gotten more opportunities out there sooner, because I think it's hard. Like, hitting, in my opinion, is probably easier translated from level to level. playing the field, there are nuances, especially moving from the infield to the outfield, that are completely different. And I think that was a little bit harder for him.
And by the way, Katie Wu has a great piece up at The Athletic, an interview with John Mozeliak, where he talks about Major League Baseball as an industry trying to get players to the Major League level faster now. It's happened in the NFL forever. And the baseball people now believe that, okay, you're young and you've had more experience than most people because the experiences are different with travel ball and all of that. But I just have a different philosophy than I think Major League Baseball as an industry does.
I think you see the talent there, and so it's exciting, right? You have all these young, talented players, and you want them to immediately have success or immediately make an impact on your Major League roster. I wonder now, though, a lot of these players, I don't know if they're learning the fundamentals of the game.
Yeah.
And so they're going from one level straight to the big leagues, and that's why we're seeing some guys not be able to hit a cutoff man. Little things like that I think is hurting the game of baseball.
I think you see that with every sport. Like with basketball, people are so, sport specific or position specific. It's similar in every single sport. They don't know how to actually play the game. As you said in baseball, hit the cutoff man or laying down a bunt properly. Those things have changed and shifted so much from the 80s to 90s to now. It's ridiculous. It's hard to watch certain sports at times.
Well, and just go the process. And the perfect example is Jordan Walker. Them being concerned about his launch angle last year right after a 12-game hitting streak. Why not concern yourself with results rather than the process? And teach, by the way, teach players how to make winning plays. That's also one of the problems with the individualized training that starts when players are 5 and goes until they're 18, is that they're taught all these individual skills, but they aren't taught how to play winning baseball.
Team. Yep.
Well, and they take players that can throw, and we played this clip yesterday of Chris Bassett talking about Major League Baseball wants guys that can throw 99 instead of 92. The problem is those guys, they're getting injured, their control is not there, but they're taking players that have talent over players that know how to play baseball.
Right.
The talent is there, and the athleticism is there, and then they're just jumping levels, but they don't know the right way to play the game, and they don't know how to win.
So I had a college coach explain this to me in terms of recruiting kids. I can get fired for recruiting a kid that is not the right size or the right speed or the right talent level or the potential. It's harder for me to get fired if I recruit this 6'5", 280-pound DN that runs a 4.6. Now, he got all the intangibles. If he can't play, he can't play. That ain't my fault. But if I recruited him and he has all of the talent, it's easier on the coaches to say, I got him here. Now coach him up. That's part of it as well.
But if they're not spending time at the professional level, if they're not spending time in AA for X amount of time, AAA for X amount of time, they have to learn these things at the major league level. That's not the coaching staff's job to make these guys learn how to play the game the right way. They should know how to play the game the right way. They're professional baseball players.
Here's an example of that. I asked Mike Schilt a few years ago when he was the Cardinal manager about the concept, because I brought it up on the air, about the concept of having Jordan Hicks maybe pull back a little bit and just throw 99 or 100 with command. And he said, well, your thought process isn't wrong, but what got Jordan Hicks here? Throwing 105. And can I go to Jordan Hicks and say, okay, don't do what got you to the major league level and is getting you paid?
Yeah.
And from Carey, you coach talented players. When guys have success with something, it's until they don't have success with it, it's hard to tell them to not do it.
It definitely is. Yeah. That's. I mean, you do what got you there, and if that's what allowed you to make it, Coach, I don't feel comfortable with that.
Yep.
I throw the ball hard. That's what I do. That's what I know. That's what I'm going to do. And
Let me give you one more from Matt Holliday. He did an interview last year and was talking about process rather than results. He was telling about a training camp, one of the showcases that he was at with his kid. Ground ball back to the pitcher. The pitcher fields it and throws it 10 feet over the first baseman's head, but he threw it 100 miles an hour over the first baseman's head. So that's what they were looking at, was 100 miles an hour, rather than the fact that it was 10 feet over the first baseman's head.
That's the most ridiculous thing to me. Like, that is why certain players do not have long careers. The players that do have long careers could be that guy that starts in the league throwing 100+ miles per hour, but then he learns, hey, I can't throw a strike. I need to do something different. I need to adjust. We hear about it all the time with NHL players, guys who are super talented, but they end up playing fourth-line minutes. They adjust their game. Alexander Steen is a great example of that. He adjusted his game, and that was a winning hockey team.
Brendan Donovan's going to have a good long career in Major League Baseball because he knows how to play.
Indeed.
Yep.
That's Andrew Marsh and Randy Carey. I'm Kerry Davis. Coming up next, we have the Gauntlet. That'll be next when we return on the Fast Lane.
101 ESPN.
NCAA Men's Basketball Tournament.
Refreshed by Bud Light. Easy to drink, easy to enjoy.
4 warriors, 4 categories, 1 challenger. Can you master the gauntlet?
The Gauntlet is powered by Master, your hometown source for business communications for more than 30 years. Visit mastor.com.
Take it.
Welcome back to the Fast Lane. I'm Carey Davis, joined by Randy Carricker and Andrew Marsh. We are at the Cybergs in O'Fallon, Illinois. Come down if you're listening. We'll be here for another hour. Come catch us, have a drink, have some wings, have a good time.
I'm eating the Saigoons myself.
You ran through them; they look pretty good.
They're so. I mean, I'll give you one.
I will try.
Yeah, I know you want to try one. They're super good.
I had the chicken sandwich, which was amazing as well. All right, so we are back when we are in the gauntlet, and we have our contestant Mike, who is going to take on my good friend Megamind, Randy Carricker. Good luck, Mike.
I have to take on the champ, Randy.
So Randy is going to go into the cone of silence.
I got to go outside.
You got to go outside, which is now our new cone of silence.
See you guys.
And Mike, you are going to tell Bradford back at the studio to spin that wheel.
Let's spin it.
All right, Mike, what are you hoping to get? Obviously, you're taking on Randy. It's going to be a tough challenge.
Would you random? Isn't there a random?
There is a random. Bradford, what is our category today?
Oh, Mike, this is the one category we haven't had in a hot minute. Completion of the Soul Series, first MLB series of the year. You have baseball, sir.
All right. All right, Mike, you ready?
I'll do my best. Let's go.
All right, here we go. The Phillies and Zach Wheeler recently agreed to a monster contract extension, but which organization selected Wheeler with the 6th overall pick in the 2009 draft?
Could you repeat that?
Okay. The Phillies and Zach Wheeler recently agreed to a monster contract extension, but which organization selected Wheeler with the 6th overall pick in the 2009 draft?
Ooh, here we go. Was it Pittsburgh Pirates?
You tell me, Mike. I can't tell you.
I don't know. I have a feeling it's the Pittsburgh Pirates. Let's go with that.
Final answer?
Final answer.
All right, question number 2. How many Gold Gloves did Yadier Molina win during his 19-year career?
I should know this.
You can get options if you like.
You can also take the options.
Oh, do I have options for the first one?
Yes. Did you want options?
Yeah. Let's go back to the first one.
We'll allow it.
Didn't give him my,
We'll allow it.
I didn't explain it well enough.
I'm sorry. I should have known better too.
I just assumed you knew the rules. All right. So is it the New York Mets, the San Francisco Giants, or the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim?
Let's go with the Giants. Definitely not Pittsburgh.
Final answer?
Final answer.
All right,
we're correct. Here's the thing: you take on Randy in the fight.
You get
it's
one.
It's a little different.
Yes,
it's a little different.
it is.
So I can see where the confusion came
No
from.
problem.
Okay, so now let's go back to question number 2. How many Gold Gloves did Yadier Molina win during his 19-year career?
Yeah, I should know this, but let's go with the options.
Options are 8, 9, or 10.
I think it's 9. I was going to say 9.
Final answer?
Final answer.
All right, question number 3. Last season, only 3 major leaguers recorded 200-plus base hits. Ronald Acuna, Luis Ariz, and who else?
Let's go with the options.
Is it Mookie Betts, Jose Ramirez, or Freddie Freeman?
Oh, Mookie Betts.
Final answer?
Let's go with final answer.
Final question. A not-so-happy belated birthday to one of the Cardinal villains in recent memory, Nick Castellanos, shout out left field. In 2021, Castellanos was suspended for 2 games for instigating a benches clearing incident during the season's opening weekend. Which St. Louis pitcher hit Castellanos, then a red, to start the whole chain of events?
Oh, I should know this. Let's see. Opening weekend, right? Oh, wait, let's go with the options.
Options are Jack Flaherty, Carlos Martinez, or Jake Woodford.
Oh, it has to be Martinez, right? Right?
I don't know. You got to tell us.
I feel like that's Carlos Martinez. Yeah, I think I remember that. Yeah, Carlos Martinez, final answer.
All right. let's bring Randy back in here. How are you feeling today about this? Not great. All right, Megamind is making his way back into Cybergs.
All right, Randy.
Here we go.
So the rules, obviously, if you answer without the options, you get 2 points.
Yeah.
Option 1 point. No, and if you get it wrong, 0 points.
Sounds good.
All right.
I can play this game.
All right.
You ready?
Also, pack a lunch.
Pack a lunch.
Oh, yeah.
Or you can get something here at
I'll
Cybergs.
order one here at
They got
Cybergs.
plenty.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
All right, here we go, Randy. The Phillies and Zach Wheeler recently agreed to a monster contract extension, but which organization selected Wheeler with the 6th overall pick in the 2009 draft?
I believe that would be the San Francisco Giants, who subsequently traded Zach Wheeler for Carlos Beltran when they traded him to the Mets. I'm going to go with the San Francisco Giants.
Final answer?
Final answer.
Question number 2, how many gold gloves did Yadier Molina win during his 19-year career?
19-year career for Yadi. I think he won 9. I'm going to go with 9.
Final answer?
Yeah, final answer. Maybe 10, but I'll go with 9.
Last season, only 3 major leaguers recorded 200-plus hits. Ronald Acuna, Luis Ariz, and who else?
Acuna, Arise, and hold on, let's think about this for a moment. Let's see. I'm just thinking of good teams here. You know what? Just in the essence of time, CD, I'll do the option here.
Is it Mookie Betts,
No.
Jose Ramirez, or Freddie Freeman?
I'm going to go with Jose Ramirez.
Final answer?
Yeah.
Final question for you, Randy. A not-so-happy belated birthday to one of the great Cardinals villains in recent memory, Nick Castellanos. In 2021, Castellanos was suspended for 2 games for instigating a benches clearing incident during the season's opening weekend.
Yeah.
Which St. Louis pitcher hit Castellanos, then a red, to start the whole chain of events?
It sounds like this might have been Jake Westbrook. Not Jake Westbrook, Jake Woodford. Jake Woodford. Westbrook was a different Cardinal. And then Castellanos standing over him at home plate, and they made T-shirts in Cincinnati. Number 40, Jake Woodford.
Final answer?
Final answer.
All right.
All right.
Let's go over these.
Let's do it. Let's start with question number 3. Last season, only 3 major leaguers recorded 200-plus base hits. Ronald Acuna, Luis Ariz, and who else? Mike, you said Mookie Betts. Randy, you said Jose Ramirez. The answer is?
It is the Dodgers' first baseman, Freddie Freeman.
0-0. Let's go to question number 1. The Phillies and Zach Wheeler recently agreed to a contract extension, but which organization selected Wheeler with the 6th overall pick in the 2009 draft? Mike, you said the Giants. Randy, you said the Giants. The correct answer is?
It is the San Francisco Giants.
But Randy didn't need the options. He's up 2-1. Question number 2. How many gold gloves did Yadier Molina win during his 19-year career? Mike, you said 9. Randy, you also said 9. The correct answer is?
It is indeed 9.
Randy didn't need the options. He's up 4-2. Final question. 2021, Castellanos was suspended for 2 games for instigating a bench clearing incident during the season's opening weekend. Which Cardinals pitcher hit Castellanos in a red? Randy, without the options, you said Jake Woodford. Mike, with the options, you said Carlos Martinez. Mike.
You have chosen poorly.
The answer was Jake Woodford. Randy wins 6-2. Good job, Mike. Thank you for joining us.
I'm just happy to get one right against Randy.
Thanks, Mike.
Can I do a quick shout out?
Absolutely.
I'd like to do a shout out to my wife Jessie, who's hopefully driving home with our son August right now. Hopefully they're listening. And I'll be home in a little bit.
After the game, of course, as Illinois leads
After the game.
68-54.
Yeah. Coming home from Cybergs in O'Fallon, Illinois, by the way. Tons of TVs here to watch all the games. CD, I told you that your Illini would cover. They're up by 14 right now with 8:42 to go.
Yep, that's what we expected.
All the games on here at Cybergs. And, by the way, tomorrow you'll be able to come by and see all the games here at Cybergs as well. We're going to be over at Helen Fitzgerald's, another Cybergs family member, tomorrow in South County. And we invite everybody to get out to one of the Cyberg's family of restaurants to check out all the action with all the TVs and all the great food.
We're going to have a good time. We're having a great time now. Good people, thank you all for all being here. We're enjoying ourselves and enjoying this moment. Coming up next, we got the Sports Six-Pack. Get your questions in. Marcy will run them off. And
Don't we only do like 2 or 3, though?
It depends.
We'll see. We'll see how it goes.
We had a record one time. We only got the one 2 weeks ago.
Yeah,
so
it happens.
Hopefully we get through all 6. That's next on the Fast Lane.
Kickstart your
The Sports Six-Pack is now.
Take it.
Welcome back to the Fast Lane. It is time for the Sports Six-Pack. Bradford, you got our questions, or Marshall, you got that question?
I got the questions. We just need Bradford to hit the
Question
sounder.
number one, please.
I do need those.
Question number 1.
Okay, question number 1. What is it that we just ate that you handed us here at Cybergs and O'Fallon?
They're called Saigoons. And
That
I
was
am
really
the
good.
biggest fan of them. I'm
You
sure
like
there's
it?
other
They're
people
good.
out there that like them, but I'm a huge fan of like buffalo chicken dip. And I don't know how they get the buffalo chicken dip in the Saigoon.
It was pretty amazing.
Delicious.
It's awesome.
It's fantastic. And by the way, thanks to Alyssa and Liz behind the bar here at Cybergs and O'Fallon taking care of us today.
All right, Bradford, question number 1, please.
Question number 1.
All right, from the 636, what are your top 3 apps you whip out for a sports game? So you're on your phone, game is on. What 3 apps? Maybe there's 2, maybe it's just 1.
If I'm watching the game,
Yes.
I mean, if I'm on my phone, I'm probably on not a sports app, but I'm always on Twitter or
Yeah.
I'm checking Twitter
We'll
often
count that, yeah.
to see what's going on
Yep.
or any news that I may have missed. So that's probably number 1 for me.
Well, one thing that I like to do, though, is to log on to the ever-popular 101
There you
ESPN
go.
app.
Get your points.
Download
Yep,
that, get
yep.
your points, and just find out what's going on in the world of sports. I'm a regular on ESPN, their app. If you want to be at a game and follow a game, I think that's a great one too.
I agree.
I have Twitter, I'd say. My fantasy football app, whenever fantasy
Football
football is
season,
going,
yeah.
not fantasy baseball, fantasy
No.
football.
We learned that takes too long.
We did establish that about an hour or so ago, and then the Action app to, just keep track of stuff.
Oh, what type of action you got?
Just sports.
Okay.
Yep.
Yep.
Maybe
Gotta
a little.
keep track.
Yeah, however you want to interpret it, right?
He's 28. He can do what he
You
wants. He's an
can.
adult.
There you go. Question number 2.
Question number 2.
Interesting question here from the 618. Do you think Busch Stadium needs to be replaced with it coming up on 20 years? It seems, according to Google, that is as long as stadiums last, plus Busch Stadium being placed in the later half of a current poll as great place to watch a game. I feel like some of the texting here is a little off. But bottom line is, do you think Busch Stadium, A, needs renovations, or they need to get a new stadium?
Well, renovations maybe, but I don't know that you're going to replace it. Seeing as all the work you've done with Ballpark Village, all of the additions that they've made there, to scrap it and kind of start over would be asinine. So I think maybe some additions, some renovations would be good. And I think every ballpark, after a certain number of years, you always want to add to it.
And the Cardinals do something every single year to enhance Busch Stadium, whether it was the UMB Champions Club, or where they took out a lot of luxury suites and put in an all-inclusive area, or the Budweiser Terrace up at the top in right field now. They've replaced the bow tie bar now out in left field. Every year there's something new and exciting over at Busch Stadium. So this stadium is far from having to be replaced. I think it's been immaculately maintained, and it really looks like it did the day it opened.
I agree. Actually, it looks way better than I think the day it opened. I went back and looked at some of the highlights from the 2006 series, and there's a giant pile of dirt out where BPV is,
Yeah,
or
right.
maybe there was a parking lot at the time. If I'm not mistaken, I don't even think that the entire stadium was constructed yet. I think the upper bowl in left field hadn't even been finished yet.
At the beginning of 06, right? Yeah, that's exactly right. And then, that they had a pond out there where Ballpark Village is. They had a softball field for a while. But, Carey, to your point, with where Ballpark Village is, they can't do better from a location standpoint than where they are. So, no, even though it is relative to a lot of stadiums old, I think this is a really new 20-year-old stadium.
And it looks fantastic.
Yeah,
it looks great.
18, right? Built in 06.
Well, so Old Busch was built in, the 60s?
66.
And that lasted, 40 years, give or take?
Yeah, 40 years.
Yeah.
And it wasn't nearly as well maintained as this stadium.
Yeah. Do you miss the Old Busch Stadium?
I kind of do.
I do, too. I love the look of it. I love, the bottle cap look when you're looking.
Those were arches.
I know they're arches, but if you also look from from above, it also kind of looks like a bottle cap.
Yeah.
Which is really cool.
Here's what I miss about it, that there was football there.
Yes. Question number 3.
Question number 3.
From the 314, What would have been better if the Cards kept O'Neal and traded Dylan Carlson for pitching and signed either Bader or Bellinger, or what they did now?
Kept O'Neal and traded. So are we going to assume that it would have been the same two pitchers from Boston, for example, that they traded O'Neal for? I just don't think that O'Neal fit with this club. I think what they did is better than having O'Neal on the team.
Well, I mean, yeah, because O'Neal was often injured, unable to play, missing time. Sat out some games last year with knee issues, couldn't play on turf. I think anytime, and the questions that you had about him, to start the season off where he's not running as hard and has to get called out in front of the media by the manager. I think anytime you have issues like that, it's time to move on from a player, and probably was done a little bit later than it should have been done.
Yeah. You know what he also dealt with is those back issues.
How long did he deal with that, Randy?
Oh, about a week back.
Do you guys think that Tyler O'Neill and Jordan Kyrou are like similar in terms of the fan perspective?
Probably. Just super talented. You know that the ability is there, but is the will there? Like, are you willing to do it every single day? And even when you're not being praised for it, or when you're not being looked at and being patted on the back, are you going to show up and show out every single day? And I think that's the question that people have for Kyrou, and I definitely think it's a question that people have for O'Neal.
Okay, this just struck my mind. I've never thought of this. Are you more frustrated by a guy who's hurt all the time and doesn't play, or a guy who does post but doesn't appear to give 100% all the time?
The second one. I can't get mad at somebody for being hurt. That's just something wrong. Your body.
I can get mad at it.
Yeah, you can. I won't get mad at a guy that's often hurt. But if you have all of the talent in the world and just don't give it to me, don't show it to me every single night, that's problematic for me.
Isn't that weird? Because, and I know this is really unfair because I know people have different pain thresholds. You had a tremendous pain threshold as a player. You still do. I mean, you're playing hurt today. But I just can't abide players that don't play because I always think, oh, you could play.
Yeah. You always want more. It's just sometimes that injury is so much and you're just unable to go. But part of it is how you prepare and how you take care of your body in the offseason as well.
By the way, it's not like I'm not frustrated with Kyrou.
Question number 4, please.
Question number 4.
All right, this one's from the 636. What is Randy's favorite story about me when I was with you guys in the morning? I have one in particular that's in my brain.
Probably the same one. Why don't you give it to us?
Probably the day that that you FaceTimed me about 5 minutes before going on air.
Oh, yeah.
And
you weren't at work?
I was not at work. I was actually sleeping. And then I had to Zoom to work, and Randy and Michelle and Danny Mack at the time had to work the board.
Oh, my.
Yeah. We got us on the air.
Yeah.
It was unbelievable.
And I lived about, let's say, like 20 to 30 minutes away, and I made it before the first segment ended.
It happens. It happens.
It does.
Here's my favorite. One time in the fight, he gave, and you know how much I hate home run derby questions, right? So he gives me a home run derby question, and I say, nobody knows that. And he says, well, yeah, some people do. So I gave him a random home run derby question, and he just rattles off everything.
I love the home run derby.
I know you do, and you know all the history of it, too.
Oh, man. One more. Question number 5, please.
Question number 5.
All right, from the 618, this one's for all those Chicago Bear fans out there. Between Keenan Allen, Caleb Williams, and Tyler Scott, who gets to wear number 13 in Chicago?
Oh, this is good. I guess a veteran does, huh?
I would assume it would be Keenan Allen.
Yeah.
Unless he wants to give it to the rookie. But
maybe he'll just ask for targets.
There you go.
And then he won't give up the number.
Right. Throw me the ball, I'll give you the number. I don't know. That's a good question.
Yeah. Well, you know, if you're a rookie quarterback, you can, like Sam Bradford was 14 in college and took 8 here. Mm-hmm. So I think you can make that switch. You were, 29 in college?
24.
24?
I didn't have an option though, Randy. I took whatever number they gave me.
Right.
I was undrafted. Well, hey, here's a jersey guy. Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
I'll put this one on.
I hope Caleb Williams is respectful enough that he says, hey, Keenan Allen, you played for a long time at a high level. Take number 13, and then I'll take something as I start my NFL career.
We'll see how that goes. That'd be a rough way to start off a career, relationship with quarterback and receiver.
Yeah.
If they're arguing over a number.
Yeah. Who's Tyler? Is it Tyler Scott? He must be the bear that already has it. So
yeah.
We don't know who he is.
I don't even know who that guy
Doesn't
is.
matter.
Yeah. I was reading the name. I'm like, I don't know who this is, but sure, let's go through it. By the way, we got a text from the 618 going back to the Busch Stadium question. The 618 says we should replace the urinals with a trough.
Nah, I'm okay.
I'm okay with that too.
okay.
Yeah.
Not doing that.
Yeah, not
Yeah, me too.
I'm good.
Those troughs can be problematic for some people.
By the way, do you guys like
People fall in
Wrigley
them.
Field?
I think it's cool.
It doesn't smell as much like urine as it used to, so that's better. I'm okay with it. You know what, though? I wouldn't be okay with it if I had to go there 40 times a year. I'm okay with it for a Cardinal weekend series.
Yeah.
You know, but I wouldn't want to go there 40 times a year.
Would you prefer a day or night game?
Day game all the way. Friday afternoon, awesome.
I agree.
I was there for the Sandberg game in '84.
Oh, wow.
That was fantastic. It was crazy. I was working. I was producing the radio broadcast, but it was unbelievable. I can still see Bruce Sutter, the closer, allowed 2 home runs to Ryan Sandberg. How many times does a closer get to face 2 hitters now, right?
Right.
And so I can still see the ball flying out, and I can still hear Jack Buck saying, "Oh, be darned!" And then Whitey nicknamed Ryan Sandberg Baby Ruth, and that's how Sandberg won the MVP. That was the key moment of his MVP season.
That's awesome. That's Randy Carragher and Andrew Marsh. I'm Carey Davis. Coming up next, we have the biggest question of the day, and the Blues taking on the Ottawa Senators. We got the first goal of the game.
Ooh.
That's next on the Fast Lane.
Mark.
Light. Easy to drink, easy to enjoy.
It's time for the Fast Lane's biggest question of the day.
Take it.
Welcome back to the Fast Lane. I'm Carey Davis, joined by Randy Carricker and Andrew Marsh, and it is time for our biggest question of the day.
All right, so the Blues are taking on the Ottawa Senators. Pregame starts here at 5 o'clock, so stay with us right here on 101 ESPN. I got a question, though. We've seen some different line combinations throughout the entire season for the Blues. We had Curbs talking about that first line. So the question for you guys is this Blues current line combinations the best we've seen yet? We saw a loss the other night against Colorado, but for me, I thought for the majority of the game, we had 3 of the 4 lines that were humming. I thought the third line did a really great job at controlling the puck down in the offensive zone. The fourth line obviously had 2 goal scorers, and then that first line, Jake Neighbors gets bumped up. They had a great game. The second line, however, probably the reason why they lost, but still, is this the best current combination that we've seen so far this season?
Well, I don't know. I know Bush Neighbors playing center. That's not really where he plays best at, right? Because I think if he's at a wing, that line is going to be much better. He's a great player. He's able to do so many things, but when you put him at center, I think you kind of limit what he does best. So I can't say that this is the best combination because of where he's aligned right now.
And right now, as much as we love Braden Shen, he's just not a center anymore. Yeah. And he's best. Buchnevich is best at the wing, and so is Shen. Yeah. So you need another center. So Thomas Neighbors and Shen, I'm fine with. Thomas Neighbors and Buchnevich, I'm fine with. But I don't love Shen as center on my second line. I don't love Buchnevich as center on my second line. I'm okay with Kyrou and Saad on the wings. And then my biggest problem, yes, to the point, it's 6 1/2 dozen of the other. But for me, when you have Hayes, Kapanen, and Bolduc as your third, and Dean, Walker, Toropchenko as your fourth, you essentially have 2 fourth lines.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Hopefully you can get some scoring from, because we talked about it.
Yeah.
You need that secondary scoring from those lines.
In which they have been doing lately. Like Kevin Hayes has been playing a lot better. Toropchenko, I mean, I did not expect him to have the amount of goals that he has this season. He's been great. Nathan Walker, a.k.a. Nadub, has been fantastic whenever he plays. Zach Bolduc, I know he has 1 goal. I've seen some good things from him. I've also seen some rookie things from him. Right. But I think he's coming along. I'm interested to see what Zach Dean does tonight. I want to see what kind of player he is at the National Hockey League level.
Just what style of play he plays with, what type of mentality he has. I think some of these younger players are Jake Neighbors has done a great job of kind of being a catalyst and leading the way of showing not just the young players, but hell, everybody. Stand in front of the net, get the gritty goals, do things that some players are not willing to do, and you can find yourself opportunities to score.
He's an absolute pro. I think he is going to be a fan favorite for a long time here in St. Louis. And I know the question coming into the season was who's going to be the captain. Robert Thomas was a part of that discussion. I think Jake Neighbors, and Jamie's talked about this, I think, if I'm not mistaken, he thinks that Jake Neighbors could be potentially the next captain of this team.
Yeah.
And I agree with him.
I agree
the way that he carries himself, the way that he plays the game, St. Louis fans love that style of hockey, and I think he would be a fantastic captain later in his career for this team. I just love the way he plays, because we've been talking about this for the past few years. Who the hell's going to go to the front of the net? Not a lot of people do. Yeah. He does.
So we know Sonny's going to be around. He signed the extension. We know Kevin Hayes is going to be around because he's got his contract. Can, in this day and age in the NHL, a team with a 6-foot, 187-pound number 2 center, Zach Bolduc, or a 6-foot, 176-pound number 2 center, Zach Dean, can that player at that size, got to play bigger than he is, be a number 2 center in the NHL now?
Oh, man, I don't know. I think specifically for those guys, I need to see more. I need to see more. But Robert Thomas isn't a huge guy by any means, and he's doing pretty good. So I think it's possible.
The thing is, Robert weighs 218 pounds.
That is true, though. That is very true.
Yeah. So he's got 40 pounds on those guys.
Yeah.
You know, so I just wonder, because they don't have a number 2 center. To me, and so to the point, whether it's Buchnevich at center or Shen, I think they're both the best group that you can have. It's not great, though. I do think they need to find for next year a legit number 2 center.
Agreed. It's time for first goal of the game.
Let's go, boys.
We need you to score more goals.
Get those loose pucks.
Thomas to Carey. Score!
No big deal. Game winner.
So I have no clue who's leading right now, but since you are the guest, Randy, you get to choose who you think will score the first goal of the night for the Blues.
I know that the logical choice is going to be Jake Neighbors, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because the blue paint is the neighborhood. But I am going to go with a defenseman.
No.
I am going to go with Colton Parayko to score the first goal of this game tonight.
That's usually Dan's pick.
Yeah.
Every time he comes on the show,
Really?
it's Colton Parayko. Colton Parayko.
Yeah, I thought about Dean, but I just don't think he's going to be getting enough ice time.
I agree with you on that one.
Marcia, who you got?
I'm going to go with Robert Thomas. I'll make it easy on myself. Jake Neighbors is a great pick, but I think Robert Thomas has been shooting the pill pretty good lately, so I'm going to go with Robert Thomas up in Ottawa.
Well, you both said his name. I'm going with Jake Neighbors.
There you go.
He's going to be right in front of the net. He will find a way to tip a puck in.
Let's get Bradford in on this as well. He's been doing a great job back at the studio. Bradford, who do you think will score the first goal tonight?
You know what, guys? I have to say, given all of the turmoil that has surrounded this individual, he's been the constant talking point for the better part of the season, especially of late. Jordan Kyrou comes through in a big way this evening, takes advantage of the matchup against Ottawa. Give me Jordan with the big goal tonight. First one.
All
There
right.
you go. That's Randy Carragher, Andrew Marsh. Coming up next, we have criticism, compliments, 3 stars of the day, and bet the board. That's next on the Fast Lane.
College hoops are on.
Take it.
Welcome back to the Fast Lane. I'm Carey Davis, joined by Randy Carricker and Andrew Marsh. And if you missed anything from today's show, you can download the podcast at 101 ESPN, and that's brought to you by Dobbs Tire and Auto Centers. It's time for criticism, compliments, and 3 stars of the day. What you got?
Well, we got our Bet the Board
Oh,
pick
we got Bet the
first.
Board.
And this is Randy's first time joining.
It
He's
is.
going to pick for Jamie. And Anthony has already given us his pick for today.
Well, who does he have?
McNeese State +7.
Oh, okay. All right.
So, and Randy, you are the guest today. We'll let you go.
You need
All right.
If you need time, I can find one.
Okay, yeah, go ahead. I did say, by the way, before the Illinois game started that they
You
were going
did
to
say
cover.
they were going to cover. I
can't use that,
No, you
can
can't
I?
use that
Okay,
one.
that's fine.
If it was just you, we'd allowed it, but
Okay.
because you're picking for Jamie,
Yeah.
we gotta.
Okay, yeah, that
we gotta
makes
throw.
sense.
You know, we gotta.
Smart.
I'm gonna go New Orleans Hornets. New Orleans Hornets. New Orleans Pelicans. Money line -142 versus the Magic tonight.
Okay, like that?
Yeah, I'm just gonna fade Anthony. I'm actually gonna take Gonzaga -7 tonight against
Not a
McNeese
bad
State. Yeah, I'll go with Gonzaga.
All right, and let's see, Colorado State and Texas. The over-under there is 143.5, and that baby's going over. So I'm going to go over on Texas and CSU.
I was looking at that too. I think that's a good pick.
All right.
So, all right, let's go to the text line for some criticisms and compliments before we get out of here. And from the 314, I get a compliment for my well, actually, it's a criticism. I guess this texter doesn't like that I wear hats a lot. I guess they want to see my hair, so maybe I'll change some things
You
up.
do have luscious, magnificent
Well,
hair.
thank you, Randy. I just, I think
We
it
can
looks
swap.
good. I think it looks good with the hat. It kind of, it's got the little
Flows.
wings. It's
Yeah.
flowing out.
You got
Plus,
the old Ryan Miller look going.
well, thank you.
Yeah.
It's just easy to just throw a hat on. I don't. When I gotta, put the product in the hair, it can, it takes a little bit.
Oh,
So
yeah. Uh-huh.
it's just easier to throw a cap on and go from there. But also from the same texter, I miss not being able to listen to Randy like I used to. Randy is the greatest sports mind in the entire Midwest. He should be on SportsCenter.
Oh, thank you very much. I like being here. I like being with these guys. But that's a very nice compliment. Thank you very much. And you can hear us every morning at 7 to 10. And by the way, you can hear our podcast brought to you by Dobbs Tire and Auto Center as well. And I'll be there tomorrow.
Cha-ching. Yes. Also from the 314, just tuned in, but love hearing Randy's voice on Afternoon Drive. And you are no stranger to Afternoon Drive, though, Randy.
Did it for 11 years. It's coming up on May 2nd. It'll be 4 years since I switched to mornings, which has flown by the way.
We were talking about it though, mornings or afternoon, which.
If I would have known earlier, I would have gone to mornings earlier. And I'm guessing what time is it? 4:52. Our bosses aren't listening. They have no idea how easy mornings are.
By the way, obviously, you're a massive golf fan. Love playing the game. In fact, me and you played golf together on Christmas. Was it Christmas Day?
Eve.
Christmas Eve.
Yeah, a few years ago.
Great time. However, being in the mornings, though, you get more time to golf.
So we do our show prep for the next day, right after the show is over, with Brooke and Dan and Matthew and I. So I'm usually out of there by 10:30, 11. If I want to get a 12:30 tee time, I'm out. And CD and I were talking about this. You really can get, and Carey, what holiday was it where you basically took a week vacation and you had to use one day of
Memorial, one of the Memorial Week or something.
Yeah, you got a whole week of vacation and took one vacation.
One day off, yeah.
It was great.
Makes life easier.
But yeah,
when you're done at 10:30.
Make yourself a 4-day weekend. Get out of there at 10 on Friday. Get to the airport by 11, and
It might have been Thanksgiving actually.
Oh yeah,
think
yeah,
it was
right.
Thanksgiving.
And you took the whole week and you went and saw the Warriors, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it is. It's you can do things in the mornings that you just can't pull off in the afternoons.
From the 618, shout out to Doty.
Yeah.
Doty gets a shout out today.
Well deserved.
Keeping us going.
Absolutely. And with that being said, let's get to our 3 stars of the day.
By the way, Dodie Roman, our remote engineer, whenever we do remotes, he's the best in the world at getting us on the air.
Yes, absolutely. Makes us look good on these cameras, too. We actually have 3 different cameras.
Oh, I didn't even know that.
Yeah, they're right here in a row, and he's been, at least on the YouTube side of things, for the Snake Pit, 3 different camera angles, which I find to be really cool. So, so shout out to Doty, our 3 stars of the day. Our 3rd star of the day is going to go to our gauntlet contestant, Mike, who had the Liberty Bells to take on Randy in the gauntlet, knowing that Megamind was here in person. He decided to still do it.
Good job, Mike.
Yeah, thank you. And if it would have been random, he would have beat me.
He asked for random. He wanted random.
He wanted random.
He did not want baseball.
So you don't think he'd be good at random?
I'd be terrible.
So, it is what it is. Shout out to Carey. He's our 2nd star of the day. Banged up a little bit today, but came in, did a fantastic job. And, of course, our 1st star of the day is Randy for stepping in.
Thank
You'll
you,
be
guys.
with us tomorrow, obviously, down at Helen Fitzgerald's, but you get our 1st star of the day.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
We
That's nice of
appreciate you. We've had a great time today. Blues pregame will start in about 5 minutes. Puck will drop at 6 p.m. You can hear Curbs and Joey V. They'll be talking about the Blues taking on the Ottawa Senators. See if they can pick up an important 2 points to keep themselves in contention for the playoffs and make a run towards a playoff run here to finish the season off. Much needed. Got the young guy coming up, Zachary Dean. See what he looks like. Bull do. Got a lot of young men that are stepping into some important places right now for the Blues. So.
And tune into the game. And by the way, if you can make it out here to Cybergs and O'Fallon, all the games will be on the TVs here.
Indeed. That's Randy. I'm Carey. As Andrew Marsh. We'll be live tomorrow from Helen Fitzgerald's. You can check us out from 2 to 6. Until then, see ya.